I'm in Prince William National Forest. This is up in the northern end of it at the Oak Ridge Campground. This is a parking area for it. The campground's that way. It's closed right now. It opens March 1st. There's the campground overseer. Yeah, water tower. Some vending machines during the summer months. And over there, that sign over there straight ahead is the Farms to Forest Trail. That's a nice, fairly easy trail if you want to try that out. There's my little red car. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go back this way, back behind this water tower, down a fire road to a jumping off point, and then I'm going to head north. There's no trails up there in the forest, in that part of the forest, but I'm going to hike up that way mile and a half on a compass bearing, looking for the ruins of the Prince William County Poorhouse. There's an old cemetery up there that's abandoned. I've got some coordinates for it, so I'm going to hike up there and see if I can find it. I'm in the Prince William National Forest, and I took a couple of still photos up by the parking area. It was so noisy up there that I didn't even try and narrate it. I'm about 4/10 of a mile into my hike. There's the service road I came down. It's about 4/10 of a mile down here. And when you get to this sharp bend in the road with this telephone pole here, this power pole, this is my jumping off point. From here, I'm going to bushwhack. There's no trails up here in this part of the forest. I'm going to bushwhack in this direction on a compass bearing of 006 magnetic for about a mile or so, looking for the site, the ruins of the old Prince William Poorhouse. So I wanted to do this while it's still early in the season, before all the underbrush comes up. So today's the first decent day where it hadn't rained for a day or two. It's still pretty swampy up here in this section of the park though, so hopefully I can get over there. If not, well, we'll see what happens. Anyway, we're going to start bushwhacking from this point on a bearing of 006 magnetic. .6 miles into my hike, and I'm getting ready to cross the headwaters of Quantico Creek. This is the North Fork of Quantico Creek, and after I cross the creek, I'm going to be heading up that way. I've had to zigzag around a little bit to avoid obstacles, so instead of on a 6-degree bearing, I'm now going to be on a 3-degree bearing, which is up that way. This is, unless you have a GPS, I wouldn't recommend coming in here. If you don't have a GPS, you could do it with a experienced buddy. We're using the buddy system and a compass. That would be where you send your buddy out as far as you can see him. And you have him move around until he's on the correct heading. And then he stands there, and then you catch up. And then do it over again. I'm hiking alone, so I don't have that luxury. And as you can see, there's very little in here to identify on, to fixate on, and hike to. Anyway, here's the headwaters. I'm going to cross them and head up this way. It's less than 2/10 of a mile from here to where the ruins are supposed to be. So when I get up to the right coordinates, we'll see if we can find anything. .9 miles into my hike, and I think this is what's left of the old Poorhouse cemetery. There's a lot of blown down trees here, and when trees get blown over like this is how things get covered up in the forest. Trees fall down, the leaves pile up around the trees, create dirt, etc. This is up on a little bit of a rise, so that makes sense. And I'm within 25 feet of the GPS coordinates that I saw published. And there's what look like two headstones right there. One sticking up right there. There's one there. And then over here, I found some more of them. There's one right there. There's another one right there, sticking up. I'm going to look around some more. Now, there's one sticking up right there. I don't know if that's one or not. Could be. And then in between those two trees is a great big one sitting there. That might be one too, because if you look around, it's not rocky here. So when you see rocks sticking up like that, and this is supposed to be where the old cemetery was, so that's probably what it was up here on this rise. So anyway, there isn't a whole lot to look at here. This was a pretty good bushwhacking exercise for me, though. I'm going to wander around some and look around. I don't have any coordinates for the old Poorhouse. I know it's been torn down. There could be some foundations still around. So I'm going to wander around and see if I see anything else up here on this ridge. Alrighty, so I threw up my day hammock there between these two trees. Guess I'm going to have a little lunch right here at the cemetery. There's a couple of stones over there. And there's a couple on the other side over there right next to where my trekking poles are hanging. And there's another one over there. There's another one over there. A couple more over that way, maybe. All sorts of blown down trees right here. I guarantee you this has covered up a bunch of them right in through here with all this blowdown. So anyway, I looked around, didn't find any evidence of any foundations of houses or anything. But again, there's a lot of blown down trees, especially back in through there. There's an awful lot of blowdown. So, you know, there could have been some foundations there that got covered up. Who knows? Anyway, for now, I'm just going to sit here and have a little lunch. Okay, got something to eat. All packed up. Gonna head on back. Another mile and a half bushwhack back to see if I can find my car. So we're gonna hike back on a compass bearing of 186 using this compass right here. So it's that way. Let's see if we can find our way home. Two and a half miles into my hike. When you look at my GPS track, it's going to be, you'll see I've been zigzagging around. Whenever I see something that looks the least bit interesting, I vary and come on over and check it out. There's a cluster of trees that have blue stripes painted on them, horizontal stripes. Trail markers are vertical, but those are horizontal. And another thing I noticed is every one that's got a blue mark on it, like there, also has a tree tag on it, like that one down there. There's another one. It's got a metal tag. Here's another one. It's got a metal tag. Every tree. There's some over there. There's even one over there. It's a 45-degree angle that's like dead as can be, and it's got a tag, metal tag on it too. So there's just a whole cluster of trees around here that have blue, and there's some on the other side. Over there, I can see 3, 4, 5 of them over there that are marked. So, and then here's the headwaters of Quantico Creek. I'm getting ready to cross back over Quantico Creek. I'll mark this with the GPS. There's all these cluster of all these trees in here, and they're all marked with blue, blazing, horizontal blazing, and they all have those metal tree tags nailed to them. And this really isn't close to the cemetery at all, so I don't know, this is probably at least 1/10 of a mile or so away from the cemetery. So I don't know what this is, but anyway, I'll get a close-up of one of the tags too. .1 miles into my hike, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, and here is a whole nother cluster of these trees marked with the blue horizontal lines, and every tree that's got a blue mark has a metal tag. More over there. There's a dead one right there leaning over. A couple more over there. Another one over there. There's one there. There's one here right next to me. Right here. Over there. All over the place. So, I don't know. They must be, and even some down that way now I see. So, I guess they're studying the health of trees. They look like all different varieties of trees. So, I guess they tag them and just study them. 3.7 miles into my hike, and I just came out of the woods over there. I missed my aim point by a little bit. I was about up there, about where that top of that rise is, a couple hundred feet. But anyway, so now here I just got to follow this back to my car. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Joplin, 1997. And I was hiking in Prince William Forest, and I was hiking to the Poorhouse ruins, specifically the cemetery. It's going to be very difficult to find this place without some coordinates. So there's the published coordinates for the Poorhouse Cemetery, and those coordinates are this point right here on the map. Now up here is Independent Hill, and this is Aden Road, which comes down through here. On one side of Aden Road you've got the Prince William Forest Park, and on the other side you've got the Quantico Marine Corps Base. So Aden Road comes down way down here to the south, and you enter the park way down here to the south, and then you drive along park roads back up to the northern edge of the park to the Oak Ridge Campground, which is right here. Now when you come into the campground, there's a parking lot right here just before you go into the campground. You just park right there. And there's a big green water tower. You'll see it right here. Now what you do is you head north on this dirt road. It's like an old fire road for about 4/10 of a mile until you see it make a real sharp bend to the left. And then that's your jumping off point for your bushwhack. Now there's no trails up here in this part of the park. So it's nothing but trees, and so you basically just have to use your compass and your GPS and hike north. I hiked along a bearing of 006 magnetic. So from this point right here, I set my compass to a bearing of 006 and just hiked as close as I could to that bearing. Now it's impossible in here to hike a perfectly straight line. So as you move around, you can check your position with your GPS. When you get to here though, you'll know you're getting close when you cross Quantico Creek. This is the northern branch of Quantico Creek coming down through here. And so when you get close, you'll have to cross over that, and then you'll start climbing a rise here up to this point right here. Now when you get here, this cemetery has been abandoned for decades. The Poorhouse was in this area from 1794 to 1927. So after 1927, and then after 1927, I forget exactly when, shortly after that, this whole area turned into a national forest. And so everything in here basically became abandoned. So from about 1927 until now, 90 years later, this has been abandoned. And when you get there, you're not really gonna see much. There are a few headstones, just fieldstones sticking up out of the ground. I wandered around this area looking for foundations of any buildings. I didn't really find any, but they could be up there because there's a lot of blown down trees. And once trees blow down, then the ground starts to fill in around them with leaves and stuff. And pretty soon everything's covered over, especially after 90 years. But anyway, I did find the the old cemetery, maybe a dozen field stones stuck in the ground to mark the graves. There's the published coordinates. Set your GPS to WGS 84, and then if you enter these coordinates and then hike there and look around, you should be able to find some of the headstones. This would also be a nice hike with a buddy to practice hiking accurately on a bearing. If you could measure the distance from here to here and establish your pace count, and using a buddy, your buddy would march out here as far as you could see him, and you'd have him move left or right until he's on the correct heading, and then he just stands there, and then you catch up with him, and then you do the same thing, and you just leapfrog like that. And that's a way to do it pretty accurately. Now, when you're hiking by yourself, you can't do that, and you really don't have a whole lot of special looking features to focus on. So you just do the best you can hiking along a bearing, and then periodically, when you get close, you'll check your GPS. You probably won't have to hike on this bearing anymore. You'll have to hike on some other bearing. If you're over here, you hike on a higher degree angle. If you're over here, you'd be hiking on a lower degree angle. So that was the hike today. It was pretty simple. It was the first hike for me for this year. It's been kind of rainy here lately, and we had a couple of days with no rain. And it went up into the 50s today. So I decided to get out there somewhere close and get a little hike in. That's the hike for today.